Our project was designed to develop a curriculum that would provide training to Alameda County providers who are providing services to African American population. The curriculum was designed to utilize African American cultural values and beliefs as the foundation for the development of services for African American population. In using the cultural nuances, we focus on metaphors, and we saw that the metaphors were the nuanced expressions of African American culture. Metaphors are words or ideas that represent something, but really requires a deeper understanding of the metaphor. Too often when we look at African American community, we don't dig deep enough to understand the cultural basis and the cultural foundation that drives the behavior that we see in the community. We tend often to look just at the behavior, but not at what gives meaning to that behavior. Within the African American community, we have been able to identify 114 sayings that have been used traditionally that form the basis for the development of this curriculum that we are working with. For example, we have the metaphor, what goes wrong comes around. And that's a behavioral metaphor. It speaks to the issue of reciprocity and a sense of responsibility for your own behavior. Metaphors, so we classify them in terms of personhood, situational control, and clarifying circumstances. And metaphors can be either values, beliefs, or behavior. And so we have the metaphor, God don't like ugly, as a common saying. But in terms of behavior, it really serves to dictate and govern behavior because God is the highest source of power in the community. So if God don't like what you do, then you got to change what you're doing. Right? So that's an example of how we use these metaphors. We held focus groups with consumers and family members to vet some of these ideas that we have developed. And we had a profound meeting, a focus group with the providers, consumers who were really intrigued and satisfied with the experience and the information that we were bringing to them, because many of them said, well, we knew this, but we didn't understand what it fully meant. And then the second focus group we did with providers, and providers again were satisfied with the information that we provided, with the idea about developing a new nosology, a new classificatory system for mental health diseases within the African American community. Traditionally, we use the DSM classification, but we are suggesting that there's a bicultural classification system that we can begin talking about an African-centered nosology that defines mental illness, mental well-being from an African-centered perspective. Then we have to develop a different treatment plan. And the treatment plan has to be founded on the importance of relationships. So when the client goes to the therapist and engages in that first intercourse, first dialogue, then if the therapist is not in tune with the rhythm and the culture and the value of the client isn't coming back. And so we have this failure of the system to provide continuous treatment for the African American population. We believe that part of this has to do with the misdiagnosis in the first place, and then secondly, with the misunderstanding of the importance and relevance and utility of African American culture.